This was a truck farm. It was, most of the produce produced here was taken to Newark for sale. Some of it was sold locally, first by the Canfields and then by the Morgans. Actually, Courtney Morgan used to take a truck to, well, it was a horse-drawn wagon to Newark, and it would be an all-day trip. Now, this is a source of preservation for history where people can come and learn about the history of Cedar Grove. School classes come, and matter of fact, we have a class coming on the 25th. We'll take a tour and learn. And it was and is the last farm in Cedar Grove and one of the last farms in large farms in Essex County. So that makes it pretty significant. Part of this house was built in the 1700s, which I think is good proof that that part of the house was, and it's so different than the rest of the house. The house, this part of the house was built in 1845 by the Canfield family, and they were farmers. Benjamin Canfield was the father, and he lived here until his wife died. And then his son John had the house, and eventually when John died, his son Benjamin, the grandson of Benjamin, had the house until 1910, because he built a large house across the street, because his had farmland across the street too. And the Morgans bought the house in 1910, and they immediately did some changes to the building. They put in a basement, they put in heating, they put in electricity, they put in running water in bathrooms. They tore down all of the outbuildings except the barn because they wanted to create sort of an English estate. So they planted a lot of gardens. Morgans, James and Edith, were both born in England. Mr. Morgan had a advertising business in New York City. He used to walk to the train station, which was a mile down the road. And he was a bit older than Edith. On a trip to England, he met her. They were kind of distant cousins, and they communicated through letters for a lot of years. And he finally said to her, "You can marry me and come to the United States, or we're done." So she married him. Mr. Morgan is not a very good businessman. They almost lost the farm. But he got tuberculosis and died in 1920, and Mrs. Morgan, who was a very good businesswoman, ran the farm with the boys until Montague. Courtney and Montague and Howard were the three boys. Courtney and Montague were twins. And Montague and Howard went off to college. Courtney stayed here with his mom. She died, I believe, in 1971. I'm not exactly sure, but she was 91 when she died. And then Courtney worked the farm alone, but he hired a lot of the local boys to help him with the farm. He became kind of a hermit at the end of his life. Then he left the property to the township, with the Historical Society taking over the museum. It's interesting, as I said, when Courtney saw them building office buildings across the street, which was the part of the Canfield property, he did not want that to happen to his property. He had offers of millions of dollars for this property, because you can imagine how many houses they could put on this property. And so he was convinced by the then president of the Historical Society that he should leave it to the township, which he did. And and he wanted the Historical Society to make a museum.
That's really, I think, one of our number one goals is preserving the house. If it's dripping or leaking or insulation or that, you've got to preserve this house, because it's been here since 1845, and that's, I think, one of our main goals is to keep the house running and for us to keep it maintained, and so that we can continue to show it for generations to come to people and children, and show the history of Cedar Grove, the local area, and how people lived in the early 1900s. The Historical Society, to supplement its fundraising efforts for keeping up the house and running our programs, we added the organic farm. This farm's been continuously farmed from the 1800s all the way up to 1985 when Courtney left the farm to this town of Cedar Grove. And a couple of years ago, a bunch of our volunteers decided to use the fields down below and try their hand at organic farming since there's such a need for it. People really want it, and it took off. So we're on our 4th summer this year. It's our biggest fundraiser for the museum, and we've been able to do projects to keep the house maintained that we were kind of putting off for many years because they were so expensive. So we got the roof done, and we got the HVAC system all redone, and the house painted, and the barn painted, and electrical updated, and things that really are necessary to preserving an historic house to keep it here for generations.